Hello and welcome. Today, we're going on a journey into the mind of a truly fascinating thinker, Martin Gardner. Now, this was a guy who was a master of mathematical puzzles, a total lover of logic, and maybe one of the world's greatest debunkers of bogus science. Okay, let's dive right in. We're going to kick things off with a mystery. A real head-scratcher. It's a story that, on the surface, looks like an impossible, almost chillingly accurate prophecy. So here's the question at the heart of it all. Back in 1898, this writer named Morgan Robertson published a novel about a massive, unsinkable ocean liner, and the details he put in that fictional story, well, that's where things start to get really, really weird. Just look at this. The similarities are absolutely uncanny, and that's what makes this story so powerful. Robertson's fictional ship was the Titan. It was called Unsinkable. It hits an iceberg on a cold April night. And, tragically, it didn't have nearly enough lifeboats for everybody, leading to this horrific loss of life. Then, 14 years later, the real-life Titanic meets an almost identical fate. It's an unbelievable coincidence, right? Or is it? To solve something like this, we need a guide. And honestly, there's no one better for the job than Martin Gardner. He basically dedicated his entire life to applying logic and reason to these kinds of extraordinary claims, creating what you could call a skeptic's toolkit. This quote, it perfectly sums up how Gardner thought. For him, being a skeptic wasn't about just shutting down new ideas. No. It was about having a necessary filter. It was about demanding real evidence and keeping some order in the search for truth, to protect science from just turning into total chaos. So how did he actually do it? Well, Gardner liked to organize information into these really clear levels. Think of it like building blocks. At the bottom, you've got your basic facts. These are simple, verifiable statements like Mars has 2 moons. Easy. Then, building on those facts, you get laws. These are generalizations, like the laws that tell us planets travel in elliptical orbits. And then at the very top, you have the big ones, theories. Things like general relativity. These are the grand explanations that tie all the facts and laws together into one coherent picture. It's this methodical approach that was so key to his thinking. All right, now let's grab that toolkit and put it to work. It's time to solve the puzzle of the Titan and the Titanic. But we're not going to look for paranormal prophecies. We're going to look at the science of coincidence. So here we are, back at the big question. Was this some kind of psychic vision, a message sent back from the future, or is there a more logical and, frankly, a much more interesting explanation just waiting to be found? The answer doesn't lie in some spooky premonition or a crystal ball. Nope, it's sitting right there in the public record. More specifically, in a newspaper article that was published 6 years before the novel was even written. And boom, this is it. This is the solution. Way back in 1892, the New York Times ran a story announcing that the White Star Line was planning a new ship called the Gigantic. Now look at the specs. The length, the horsepower, the top speed, the 3 propellers. They are incredibly close to the details Morgan Robertson used for his fictional Titan. The guy wasn't a prophet. He was just a really well-informed writer using current events to build a believable story. And here it is, the final piece of the puzzle. The White Star Line had a thing for names ending in Isaac. They had the Oceanic, the Majestic, and they were planning the Gigantic. So when it came time to name their next, even bigger, even more grand vessel, what were they going to call it? Titanic was pretty much the most logical, almost inevitable choice. The mystery, well, it wasn't really a mystery after all. It was just a chain of logic. But here's the thing you have to understand about Martin Gardner. For him, debunking was never the end goal. His real passion was replacing those false wonders with the genuine, totally mind-bending marvels of the real world. The puzzles, paradoxes, and poems that are so much more amazing than any psychic claim. Okay, for example, take a look at this. This is a classic puzzle that Gardner just loved. What we've got is a perfect 13 by 13 square. It's made from 4 simple pieces. The total area is 169 square units. Simple enough, right? But now, watch this. When you take those exact same 4 pieces and just rearrange them to form this rectangle, something that seems totally impossible happens. The area is now 168. A whole square unit has just vanished. Where did it go? This is the kind of stuff Gardner lived for. It's not a ghost, it's not magic. It's a beautiful paradox that challenges how we see things and just begs us to look closer, to find the clever hidden truth right there in the geometry. The answer isn't paranormal, it's math. You know, Gardner always argued that if you're looking for real prophecies, you don't need to call a psychic, you just need a library card. Think about it. A Roman poet back in 99 BCE somehow accurately describes the process of evaporation. Or Jonathan Swift in Gulliver's Travels, writing that Mars has 2 moons, 151 years before astronomers actually found them. And what about Tennyson, predicting aerial combat, describing the nation's airy navies grappling in the central blue? These are the true wonders that should capture our imagination. And all of this, the debunking, the puzzles, the logic, it all leads to Gardner's much deeper philosophy. It's one that's captured perfectly by the title of one of his books, which actually comes from a forgotten poem about the grandest wonder of them all. Let us drink anew to the time when you were a tadpole and I was a fish. Just let that sink in. These incredible lines from Langdon Smith's poem, Evolution, they just perfectly capture the awe that Gardner felt for the real world. This idea that all of us, you and me, share this deep, unbroken history that stretches back through time, well, that's a wonder far more profound than any ghost story could ever be. And really, that's what Martin Gardner leaves us with. He asks us to find the joy in the puzzles, to always seek out the evidence, and to constantly question that line between genuine, awe-inspiring wonder and just simple gullibility. Because the universe, when you really stop and look at it clearly, is already so much more amazing than you can possibly imagine.